Imagine being infinite, made of song and light, and then suddenly being squeezed into a shape made of bone and skin. Imagine having the memory of the stars, but feeling the ache of rheumatism in your knees when it rains. This is the paradox of the wizard. You are not a conjurer of cheap tricks. You are a guardian angel who has voluntarily clipped his own wings to walk in the mud. Tonight, you are not watching the story. You are holding the staff. You are wearing the grey cloak. You are the pilgrim. Hello, it's Max. Tonight, we are trying something different. We are shifting perspectives. Instead of looking at the map, I want you to stand on it. Find your position in bed. Let your body settle. Imagine that the blankets over you are a heavy grey wool cloak. It's warm and smells faintly of rain and pine needles. Feel your hands resting. Imagine they are weathered, old, but filled with a dormant strength. Take a deep breath, in, smelling the old tobacco and the ozone of magic, and out, letting the smoke form shapes in the air. You are Mithrandir, you are Gandalf, and the road is calling. The first thing you experience isn't light, it's weight. For what might have been eternity, or maybe just a heartbeat, time works differently there. You were a Lorin. You existed as a thought in the mind of Manwë, the king of winds. You were a melody woven into the very fabric of the undying lands. You had no knees to ache after a long day, no lungs burning for air, no skin to shiver when the wind turned cold. You were pure spirit, made of fire and dreams, walking unseen through the gardens of Lorien, sitting at the feet of Nienna the Compassionate, learning that pity, true pity, is perhaps the strongest force in all creation. You were vast, limitless, free, and then you accepted the mission. You bowed your head before Manwë in his high halls. You confessed honestly that you were afraid of the shadow, of Sauron, of what awaited you in Middle-earth. And in that moment of honest fear, the trap of duty snapped shut around you like a steel band. Now you open your eyes. The transition is violent in how quiet it is. Imagine being poured from a golden vessel into a clay cup. That's what this feels like. You gasp. A ragged, desperate sound scraping against a throat you're not used to having. Cold, salty air rushes into lungs that feel new and fragile. You cough. Your shoulders hunch instinctively, protecting a chest that seems hollow, vulnerable, completely mortal. Look down at your hands. Go ahead. Look. They're not the hands of a spirit anymore. They're gnarled, twisted with age, spotted like old parchment. When you flex your fingers, you feel stiffness in the joints, the low-level hum of arthritis that will be your constant companion for the next 2,000 years. You're old. You've been born into this world already old, complete with the accumulated weariness of a life you haven't even lived yet. You look up slowly. You're standing on a wooden dock, the planks grey and weathered by centuries of salt spray. Above you, the sky is heavy slate, swollen with rain that threatens, but hasn't quite decided to fall. This isn't Valinor anymore. The light here is thinner, weaker. It lacks that golden resonance you remember from the trees. This is just sunlight, distant, indifferent, ordinary. You're at the Grey Havens, Mythlond, the very edge of the world as mortals know it. You try to remember the music of the Ainur, that grand symphony that sang the universe into being. You reach for it in your mind like reaching for a familiar book on a shelf. But it's gone. Or rather, it's distant now. It feels like a memory of a memory, a melody you once knew, played somewhere far away behind thick stone walls. The Valar, your masters, your companions, are just names now, concepts that feel impossibly remote. You've been diminished. That's the word for it. Your power, which once could have shaped reality itself, is now locked away deep inside. accessible only through the clumsy, frustrating instrument of this old man's body, and the wooden staff you find clutched in your right hand. A wave of vertigo hits you. You're a Maya, an angel, basically, trapped in flesh that's already decaying. The fear you felt before Manwë returns, but now it's physical. It's a knot twisting in your stomach. It's cold sweat on your forehead. You're alone. But wait, you're not alone. Hail, stranger. The voice is deep and resonant, like the sound of tide turning in a sea cave. You turn around, startled. Standing there, watching you with eyes that seem to hold the reflection of starlight on water, is an elf. He's tall, taller than you anyway. He has a beard, which is unusual for his kind, silver and long. He doesn't look like the young warrior elves from the old stories. He looks like the sea itself, ancient, patient, carrying a weight of sadness. Círdan the shipwright, lord of the Grey Havens. He doesn't ask who you are, doesn't demand credentials or explanations. He simply looks at you, this bent, grey-cloaked figure shivering on his dock, and he sees, somehow he sees past the wrinkles, past the grey beard, past all this fragile flesh. He sees the fire that still burns at the core of your spirit. He sees Olorin. Círdan steps closer. The rain begins to fall, a cold drizzle hissing against the stones. He reaches out and takes your hand. His skin is cool to the touch, but his grip is iron strong. Great labours and perils lie before you, he says quietly, his voice barely audible above the rain. And lest your task prove too great and wearisome, take this ring for your aid and comfort. He slips something onto your finger. The sensation is immediate and startling. It's not a flash of power like lightning. It's more like a steady pulse of warmth. It starts at your finger and travels up your arm, settling in your chest, right next to your beating heart. You look down. On your finger sits Narya, the Ring of Fire, one of the 3 rings of power forged for the elves. It's set with a ruby that glows like a coal in a dark room, pulsing with inner light. It was entrusted to me only to keep secret, Círdan continues, his words mixing with the sound of rainfall. Here on the west shores, it sits idle and unused, but I believe that in days to come, it should rest in nobler hands than mine. Hands that may wield it to kindle courage in the hearts of all free peoples. You feel the ring waking up, understanding its purpose. It's not a weapon of war. It's more like a furnace against the cold, a voice against despair. It whispers to you that even though you're old and the road ahead is impossibly long and the enemy is vast beyond measure, you can keep going. You can endure. It's the artifact of hope, the gift of the second wind. You look at Círdan, wanting to thank him but finding your new tongue clumsy with formal words. You simply nod. You understand the sacrifice he's making, giving up his greatest treasure to a stranger who literally just fell out of the sky. I will dwell by these grey shores until the last ship sails, Círdan promises softly. I will await your return. He turns and walks away toward his white towers, leaving you alone on the pier, with the rain and the weight of the world settling onto your shoulders. You stand there for a long time, letting the rain soak through your grey wool cloak. It's rough and scratchy, another indignity of flesh you'll have to get used to. You grip your staff tighter. You look eastward. To the east lies everything. The road, the Shire, though you don't know about that place yet. Rivendell, the darkness of Mirkwood, the fires of Mordor, all of it waiting. You take your first step as a mortal being. Your boot hits stone, thud, gravity pulls at you, your knee clicks audibly. You're hungry, you're thirsty, you're cold. You are Gandalf now. And the third age has begun. You walk. That becomes your entire existence. Walking. For the first few centuries, and yes, you measure time in centuries now. You're like a ghost drifting through the landscape. You don't announce yourself or make grand proclamations. You simply travel through the lands of Arnor and Gondor, learning. learning the lay of the land, the names of rivers, the roots of mountains, learning languages, the rough common tongue of men, the flowing Sindarin of the elves, even bits of the secret Khazad-dûm that the dwarves guard so jealously. You realize pretty quickly that you're different from the others who were sent with you. Kurumo, Saruman, as he's called here, arrived first. He's noble, commanding, dressed in white robes that practically glow. He went straight to the halls of power, the towers of the wise. He speaks with natural authority. He studies the lore of the enemy obsessively, believing that knowledge equals power. Eventually he settles in Orthanc, surrounding himself with books and mechanisms and the trappings of control. And then there's Radagast, poor, sweet Radagast. He fell in love, truly, deeply in love, with the birds and the beasts and the trees. He forgot the mission entirely. He settled in Rosgobel and became part of the forest rather than its guardian. He's lost to the moss and the mushrooms and the sparrows. But you're something else entirely. You're the Grey Pilgrim, the wanderer. You have no home, no permanent dwelling. You sleep under hedges when the weather's fair. You sleep in the spare rooms of suspicious innkeepers who eye your staff warily. You sleep in the beautiful halls of elven lords who look at you with this mixture of pity and deep respect. You feel the weight of Narya on your finger constantly. It's hidden from sight, invisible to all except other ring-bearers. But to you, it's a constant reminder, a warm pulse. Why are you here? What's your purpose? You're here to kindle hearts, to light fires in the darkness. You walk through villages where the people are sullen and afraid. The shadow is growing in the east, but it's not yet an open war. It's more like a mood, a darkening of the atmosphere, a sense that something's going wrong, but nobody can quite name it. The weather turns sour. The milk spoils faster. People are shorter with each other. You stop at a tavern one evening. You sit by the fire, accepting a mug of weak beer. You tell a story, nothing fancy, just an old tale about brave people doing brave things. You watch the faces around you. Farmers, tradesmen, tired people worn down by life. You see the fear in their eyes. And you use the ring. Not obviously, not with lightning bolts or dramatic gestures. You just push a little bit of your own fire into the room. You make the story a touch braver, the beer tastes slightly better, the fire burn warmer. You make them laugh, really laugh, maybe for the first time in weeks. When you leave the next morning, the village feels lighter somehow. The people don't know why. They just know that the old man with the grey beard and the crooked staff made them feel like maybe they could handle whatever winter brought. This is your magic now, not fireballs or grand sorcery. Morale, hope, the strength to face another day, but it's exhausting. Every heart you kindle takes a spark from your own fire. You're constantly pouring yourself out, and the vessel, this old body, is small and cracked and leaking. You get tired. God, do you get tired? You begin to long for rest, for a place where hearts don't need kindling, because they're already warm, already lit from within. And then one day, whether by chance or by the design of the music itself, you find yourself walking down a lane in a land called Eriador. The hedges here are impossibly neat. The fields are tilled with an attention to detail that borders on obsession. The air smells of fresh bread and brewing beer and pipeweed smoke. You see a creature sitting on a porch. He's about half your height, with large hairy feet, and he's blowing smoke rings that are perfectly, beautifully round. He looks completely and utterly unconcerned with the doom of the world, or the shadow in the east, or any of it. You lean on your staff and just watch him for a moment. For the first time in 1,000 years, that constant knot of anxiety in your stomach loosens slightly. You've found the Shire, and somehow, you just know, this place is going to be important. This is what you're really fighting for. You're sitting on a wooden bench painted cheerful green. The wood is sun-warm against your back. In your hand is a pipe, long, curved, made of cherry wood. You strike a match and bring the flame to the bowl. The tobacco catches. Old Toby, they call it here. The smoke fills your mouth, tasting of earth and summer afternoons and simpler times. You exhale slowly. A grey ring drifts across the garden, perfectly intact, undisturbed by any winds of war. You're at Bag End, in the heart of the Shire. To the rest of the wise, Saruman in his Tower of Orthanc, with all his wheels and gears, Galadriel in her timeless mirror garden. This place is basically a joke, a backwater, a collection of rustic farmers who care more about the proper consistency of mushroom soup than about the rise of Mordor. Saruman openly mocks your fondness for the halfling's leaf. He sees it as weakness, evidence that your mind is going soft with age. But he's wrong. You know he's wrong with every fibre of your being. You watch Bilbo Baggins bustling around his kitchen, humming tunelessly, genuinely worried about whether there's enough seed cake for afternoon tea. He's small, powerless by conventional measures. He owns no army, wields no magic sword, commands no kingdom. And yet you feel safer in this round green door than you do in the white halls of Minas Tirith. Why? Because the Shire is the complete opposite of Mordor in every way that matters. Mordor is about domination, about bending the will of others to serve your vision. It's about grand designs and efficiency and industry and power for power's sake. The Shire is about growing things for the simple joy of watching them grow. It's about tending a garden, not because you want to conquer the vegetable patch, but because you want to eat a genuinely good tomato. It's about the quiet, unadorned pleasure of living well and simply. Sitting here on this bench with your pipe, you have a realization that changes everything. This is what you're fighting for. Not abstract concepts of good versus evil, not the preservation of ancient kingdoms or noble bloodlines. You're fighting so Bilbo can finish writing his book, so Samwise Gamgee can marry Rosie Cotton. You're fighting for the right of small people to live small, genuinely happy lives without being crushed under the boots of those who think they know better. This realization becomes your sanctuary. The Shire is the only place where you can truly take off the mantle of grey pilgrim and just be the friendly old conjurer who brings fireworks and tells slightly sanitized stories about goblins and makes coloured smoke for the children. You're the eccentric uncle visiting from far away. But even here, even in this paradise, the shadow finds a way in. You look at Bilbo more carefully. He's looking thin somehow, stretched, like butter scraped over too much bread, as he'll later describe it. He touches his waistcoat pocket constantly, unconsciously. A nervous habit. You know what's in that pocket. A magic ring. For decades you've told yourself it was nothing. A minor trinket. Maybe one of the lesser rings the elven smiths made as practice pieces. You wanted it to be harmless. You needed it to be harmless because the alternative, the possibility you don't want to face, is too terrifying. Because if the one ring is here, if it's here in this garden of peace, cold sweat breaks out on your forehead despite the warm sun. You grip your staff tighter. Narya pulses on your finger, a warning drumbeat. You've been willfully blind. You, who are supposed to be wise, have been playing the fool because you desperately didn't want to see the truth. You didn't want this paradise ruined, but you remember the hunt for Gollum now. Those long, miserable years tracking that pitiful creature through the dead marshes. You remember the dusty scrolls in the archives of Minas Tirith, reading Isildur's account of the ring. It is precious to me, though I buy it with great pain. The same words, the exact same obsessive language. You stand up abruptly. The bench creaks. Bilbo looks at you, startled out of his humming. Gandalf, he asks, concerned. You haven't even touched your tea. You look at him, this small, brave friend who once helped you reclaim a mountain. You feel a surge of protective fury so intense it makes your hands shake. You will not let the shadow take him. You absolutely will not let the darkness enter through this round green door. But to save him, you have to hurt him first. You have to make him give up the ring. The confrontation in the hallway isn't a battle of magic. It's a battle of wills, and it's one of the hardest things you've ever done. Bilbo turns nasty. Actually nasty. He calls the ring his precious, that same word again, and his face twists into something that looks disturbingly like Gollum for just a moment. You see the corruption clearly now. It's already here, already seeping into the Shire like poison in groundwater. You have to reveal yourself, just a fraction of your true nature. You let the Grey Pilgrim mask slip for just a second. You allow the power of what you really are, a Maya, an angel of fire, to shine through. The room darkens around you. Your voice drops into registers that shake the floorboards. I am not trying to rob you. The words come out like thunder rolling through a valley. I am trying to help you. Bilbo actually shrinks back against the wall, terrified. He's seeing you, really seeing you, for the first time, and it breaks the ring's spell for just a heartbeat. Just long enough. His face crumples. He begins to weep, and he drops the ring. You watch it fall in what feels like slow motion. A simple gold band, unremarkable to look at. It hits the floor with a sound far heavier than gold should make. You don't touch it. You can't. You know with absolute certainty that if you took that ring with your power, you wouldn't become a Dark Lord in the traditional sense. You'd become something arguably worse, a tyrant of righteousness. You'd try to do good, but you'd enforce it with absolute authority, and in doing so you'd destroy the very freedom and choice that make goodness meaningful. You'd turn the entire world into a well-ordered garden where nothing wild or spontaneous was permitted to grow. So you leave it for Frodo. This might be the hardest decision of your entire existence. You're condemning a young, innocent hobbit, someone who should be worrying about party planning and garden layouts, to a burden that broke kings and corrupted heroes. You're putting the fate of the entire world into the hands of someone with no training, no power, no weapons. Why? Because you've learned something crucial in your long years of walking Middle-earth. The enemy's great power cannot be defeated by matching it with greater power. That's the trap. That's what Saruman will fall into. Power of that magnitude can only be defeated by something Sauron fundamentally doesn't understand and can't account for. Humility, sacrifice, the courage to resist even when resistance seems pointless. You look at Frodo carefully. He's terrified. You can see it in his eyes. And when you explain what the ring is, what it means, you watch the full weight of horror settle onto his young shoulders. He offers it to you. Take it! Don't tempt me, Frodo! You snap the words more harshly than you intended. But you're not angry at him. You're afraid of yourself, afraid of what you might become. You sit with him by the fire. You explain the history as gently as you can. You watch realization dawn across his face. The Shire isn't safe anymore. The sanctuary has been breached. Paradise is ending. And then he says it. This young hobbit, who should be planning his uncle's birthday party, says, I will take it. I will take the ring to Mordor. You look at him. Really look at him. This small person volunteering to walk into hell itself. You feel something like awe. This is the courage of hobbits. Not the absence of fear, but the decision that something matters more than fear. Your role has changed. You're no longer the wandering storyteller, the bringer of fireworks. You're the general now. The shepherd who has to guide this lamb through a forest full of wolves. You stand up and pack your pipe. The comfort of Bag End already feels like a fading memory. You step out the round green door into the night. The sun has set. Stars are coming out, cold and distant. You whistle for Shadowfax, the lord of all horses, whom you've borrowed, well, stolen, really, from the king of Rohan. He comes to you, a gleam of silver in the darkness. You mount. You feel the power of the magnificent beast beneath you. You're riding to Saruman, to the head of your order. You need counsel, help, wisdom. You don't know yet that the White Wizard has fallen. You don't know he's been staring too long into the Palantir, that the Eye of Sauron has him. You're riding straight into a trap. But for now, you just ride. The wind whips your grey cloak. The Shire disappears behind you, a small green patch in a darkening world. You whisper a prayer to Elbereth, the Star Kindler. Just hold the line, you think. We just need to hold the line a little longer, and you ride into the gathering night. You're crossing through the gap of Rohan. The land here is green and open, but the air tastes wrong. Acrid, like smoke from distant fires. Shadowfax moves beneath you, like flowing water, barely seeming to touch the ground, but even his legendary speed can't outrun the dread growing in your gut. You're heading for Isengard, for Orthanc, for Saruman the White, the head of your order. For 2,000 years you've looked up to him. He's the eldest of the Istari, the most learned, the most powerful. Back when you were both Maiar in Valinor, he studied the crafting and mechanics of the world, while you studied healing and compassion. He's always been the leader. If anyone knows what to do about the ring, it's Saruman. You arrive at the ring of Isengard. What you see stops you cold. It used to be beautiful here, a park of trees and clear streams, a place of peace. Now it's been transformed into something that makes your stomach turn. The trees are gone, fed into furnaces. The ground is torn open, revealing pits where orcs are being bred like livestock. Smoke pours from underground forges. The Tower of Orthanc itself, a black spike of unbreakable stone, pierces the sky like an accusation. You enter slowly, unease prickling along your spine. Saruman greets you in the main hall. He's in white robes, but as he moves, the fabric shimmers strangely. The white breaks into rainbow fragments, all colors woven together. "I am Saruman of many colors," he declares, and there's a manic edge to his voice you've never heard before. You look at him and your heart breaks. This isn't just a fall from grace. He's been twisted, corrupted. He speaks of order and power and the new age with feverish intensity. He thinks he can ally with Sauron, actually ally with him. He believes he can control the ring, use it to bring about his vision of a perfectly ordered world. You see the trap he's fallen into. He doesn't want to destroy the shadow. He wants to become it, to replace it with his own version. When you refuse to join him, the confrontation is swift and brutal. You're old, weary from the road. He's in his seat of power, surrounded by his mechanisms and his dark knowledge. He strips you of your staff with a word. His will, amplified by years of study, overpowers yours. He has you thrown to the top of Orthanc, imprisoned on the pinnacle. You stand on that high platform. The wind here is fierce and cold, cutting through your robes. You look down and see the armies gathering, orcs and wolves and worse things. You see the machinery of war being built. You're trapped. You, servant of the secret fire, are stuck on a pillar of rock while the world burns below. You feel despair creeping in, deep and dark. You've failed. You walked right into the spider's web. Frodo is alone out there somewhere with the ring. The quest is doomed before it's barely begun. But then, you see something. A tiny speck against the grey sky. A moth. Small, fragile, buffeted by the wind. You catch it gently in your cupped hands. You whisper to it. A prayer, a call for help, sent on wings of dust and hope. And the eagles answer. Gwaihir the Windlord descends like a storm. The escape is a blur of feathers and rushing air and sudden, blessed freedom. You're carried to Rohan, then eventually make your way to Rivendell. You arrive just in time. Frodo is there, wounded, pale, bearing the scar of a Morgul blade, but alive. He brought the ring to the House of Elrond. The Council of Elrond is a nightmare of politics and pride. Dwarves shouting about old grudges, elves sighing with weary superiority, men posturing and arguing. Boromir of Gondor keeps insisting they should use the ring as a weapon against Mordor. You've had enough. You stand up. You speak the black speech, the foul language of Mordor, right there in the beautiful valley of Imladris. Ash Nazg Durbatuluk, Ash Nazg Gimbatul. The sun dims. The elves cover their ears in pain. It's a violation of this sacred place, and you know it. But it's necessary. You have to show them the horror. You have to strip away their delusions and fantasies. The ring cannot be used for good. It can only be destroyed. Silence falls like a weight. Who will take it to Mount Doom? Who will walk into that fire? Not the mighty warriors, not the wise lords with their strategies. I will take it. The voice is small but clear. Though I do not know the way. You look at Frodo, and you feel that surge of love and terrible guilt again. You're sending him to almost certain death. I will help you bear this burden, you hear yourself say, as long as it is yours to bear. The fellowship forms around him. 9 walkers to oppose the 9 riders. You lead them south. You are the guide now, the one who knows the paths. But the journey is a series of failures that gnaw at your confidence. The mountain Caradhras defeats you. The snow is too deep. Saruman's voice in the storm bringing down avalanches. You're forced back. There's only one path left, the path you've been dreading. We must go through the mines of Moria. Even saying the words makes your mouth go dry. Aragorn looks at you with fear. He knows, you know, there's something down there in the dark, something old, a shadow you felt at the edges of your mind. You stand before the doors of Durin, and you can't open them. You try every spell you know, every word of power. Nothing works. You feel foolish. Amaya stumped by a riddle. Then Frodo solves it with childlike simplicity. Speak, friend, and enter. The password was just the word friend in Elvish, Mellon. The doors swing open. You enter the dark. The air inside is thick with thousands of years of dust and death. You light your staff, a small star in an ocean of blackness. You can feel the weight of the mountain above you, pressing down. You walk for what feels like days. The darkness is oppressive, alive almost. You can feel eyes watching. Gollum is following. You're certain of it. Pad, pad, pad in the shadows. And something else. Something much worse. You reach the Chamber of Mazarbul, Balin's tomb. You find the book, read the final, desperate entries. We cannot get out. They are coming. Then, drums. Doom. 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 The orcs swarm in like a flood. You fight. You use Glamdring, the foe hammer, flashing light from your staff to blind the cave trolls. You're a warrior again, striking and spinning. You flee toward the bridge. You're almost out. You can smell fresh air. And then everything changes. The orcs stop screaming. They pull back, terrified of something behind you. A shadow falls across the hall, but it's a shadow with fire at its heart. A Balrog, Durin's bane. Your heart actually stops for a beat. This is what you've been sensing. This is the doom waiting in the deep. It's a demon from the ancient world, a corrupted Maya like yourself. A spirit of fire that chose to serve the void instead of the flame imperishable. It's your equal in origin, but your opposite in every choice that matters. Fly, you fools, you shout to the others. This foe is beyond any of you. You run to the bridge of Khazad-dûm, a narrow span of stone over an abyss that drops down to the roots of the world. You stop in the middle. You turn to face it. The Balrog steps onto the bridge. It's massive, a shape of shadow and flame. It has a whip of fire and a sword that burns red. You feel something strange. Calm. Complete calm. All the weariness and doubt and fear of 2,000 years just falls away. The mission has simplified beautifully. You don't need to defeat Sauron. You don't need to guide Frodo to the fire. You just need to hold this bridge for 10 seconds so the others can escape. You plant your staff firmly. You raise Glamdring. You cannot pass. Your voice isn't the cracked voice of an old man anymore. It's the voice of Olorin, resonating with authority that comes from the Vala themselves. I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Anor. You cannot pass. The dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udun! Go back to the shadow! The Balrog roars and raises its sword. You summon everything you have. The ring of fire burns white hot on your finger. You channel all that power into your staff. You strike the bridge. White light, blinding. A crack like the world breaking in half. The stone shatters beneath the demon's feet. It falls, its fire going dark as it plunges into the abyss. You watch it fall and allow yourself a breath of relief. It's done. You turn to follow the others to safety. Then you hear the snap of the whip. It coils around your ankle like a burning serpent. Agony. You're yanked backward, hitting the stone edge hard. You're sliding. You look up. You see the hobbits' faces. Frodo is screaming your name, running back toward you. If he comes back, the orc archers will kill him. You have to make them leave. You have to break their hearts so they'll survive. Fly, you fools. And you let go. You fall into the dark. Wind rushing past. The light of the upper world disappearing. You're falling toward water and fire and the end of all things. You're dying. And for the first time in a very long time, you're not afraid. You fall for what feels like forever. The battle that follows spans the roots of the world. You plunge into a subterranean lake, water so cold it shocks your system. The Balrog's fire is doused, but its hatred remains. It becomes a thing of slime and terrible strength, grappling with you in absolute darkness. You fight. You cut at it with Glamdring. You pursue it up the endless stair, climbing from the deepest dungeon to the highest peak, Zirak-Zegel, the Silvertine. There, on the summit amidst snow and lightning, you finally kill it. You cast down your enemy, and it breaks the mountainside as it falls. And then darkness takes you too. You drift out of thought and time. You wander roads that living things cannot walk. The universe spins around you. Stars wheel overhead in patterns that hurt to perceive. You're just spirit now, stripped of the shell of flesh, floating in the cosmic void. You're finished. Your task was to guide, and you died. But then you feel something. A pull. A command that's not quite a voice. Go back. The work isn't done. You return to your body, but it's not the same body. The aches are gone. The weariness is gone. You're filled with power you haven't felt since the Elder Days. You're no longer Gandalf the Grey. You are Gandalf the White. You are Saruman as he should have been. You wake on the mountaintop. Gwaihir bears you away on wings of wind. You return to the world transformed. You're sharper now, harder, more focused. You don't have time anymore for riddles or patience. The war is here, at the doorstep. You ride to Rohan. King Theoden has been broken, his mind poisoned by Saruman's whispers through the traitor Grima. You walk into the Golden Hall. You don't bow or scrape. You raise your staff and cast out the shadow. I release you from this spell. You watch the old king straighten, watch light return to his eyes. You've kindled another heart, but this time it's a heart prepared for war. You ride to Helm's Deep. The fortress is besieged. 10,000 Uruk-hai against a few hundred men. It looks hopeless. But you don't accept hopelessness anymore. You gather the scattered Rohirrim. You bring them back. At dawn on the 5th day, you stand on the ridge. The sun rises behind you. You're a figure of pure white light on horseback. You charge. The enemy breaks before you. They scatter like leaves in a storm. But there's no time to celebrate. You ride to Isengard. You confront Saruman in his tower. You break his staff. You cast him out of the order. It gives you no joy. It's like breaking your own brother. Then Pippin looks into the Palantir and Sauron sees him. The eye thinks the ring is moving toward Gondor. You have to become the decoy. You have to draw Sauron's attention away from the real quest. You ride to Minas Tirith, the White City, falling into decay under a steward who has lost all hope. The siege begins. The sky turns black. The Witch King arrives at the gates. This is the hardest part. You can't win this battle with magic or force. There are too many enemies. You have to win it with morale, with stubborn refusal to give up. You ride through the streets rallying soldiers. You stand at the broken gate when the Witch King enters. He breaks your staff. He mocks you. Old fool, this is my hour. But you don't fear him. You know his time is almost over. Then you hear them. Horns in the north. Rohan has come. The battle turns. You march to the Black Gate with the remaining armies of the West, a pitifully small force. It's a suicide mission, and everyone knows it. You stand before the gate. The mouth of Sauron comes out mocking, showing you Frodo's mithril coat. Despair washes over the army. The hobbit is dead. It's over. But you don't break. Even if Frodo is gone, you will not bow. For Frodo, Aragorn whispers. He charges. You run with him. You're surrounded. Trolls closing in. Nazgûl screaming overhead. This is the end. Then the wind changes. Barad-dûr shakes. The eye widens in terror. The tower falls. The black gate crumbles. The eagles come. You fly to Mount Doom. The mountain is erupting. And there on a rock surrounded by fire are Frodo and Sam. Alive. You hold them. They're burned, unconscious, broken. But they did it. You weep. Pure joy. The war is over. You stand in Minas Tirith and crown Aragorn king. Now come the days of the king, but you feel hollow. Your purpose is done. You travel to the Grey Havens one last time. Círdan is there. Galadriel, Elrond, Bilbo, Frodo. You board the white ship. The shore fades. You see it, white shores. A green country under a swift sunrise. You're Olorin again. Spirit, free. You close your eyes and smile. The journey is complete. You can rest now. Let go of your burdens. Imagine that white shore. Peace. You're safe. You're home. Sleep. Good night.